So let's move on. Anneli Pauli, we are really pleased to have you here. You are the Aalto honorary doctor, and as well, so you have been our kind of eyes and ears in the commission as well, so having the Finnish background, so it's really an interesting challenge as well, so for us to follow what is going on there. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Markku, and indeed it's a great pleasure for me to be here again. The last time indeed I was here in October in a very festive occasion on this very podium here. So thank you for Aalto University for this honor which you gave to me. I take it also as an indication that you really value what we are doing in the Commission for EU Research and Innovation. It was not for me, it was for what we are doing. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends, I would like to say, I can only echo what Tuula, the rector, said. I think that we are on the very same footing and we have the same view what we should be doing in the future. I think that everybody here agrees that Europe needs to improve its competitiveness. That's very clear. And competitiveness and growth, again, rely on innovation. And any radical new innovation relies on excellent research. So the quality and excellence is the key. Without that, we cannot create anything useful, I would like to say. But we have to remember this research and innovation cycle or ecosystem and also take into account the needs of our customers. The cornerstone or the Bible for the European Union and its member states is the Europe 2020 strategy, which was launched for 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago actually now. And it can be enshrined into a very short sentence where every word counts. Namely, this is for smart, inclusive and sustainable growth. And this strategy for the very first time on an EU level recognizes that research and innovation are very critical to Europe's economic recovery in the future. We say in the Commission that research and innovation is in the heart of EU 2020 strategy. We have to be able to tackle the grand challenges which are of greatest concerns to our people. The endeavour of the EU to become an innovation union is one of the flagships of the Europe 2020 strategy. The strategy has 7 flagships and the innovation union is one of them. But of course we have to remember that innovation is mainstreamed in every policy, not only for innovation and research policies, it's also part of energy policy and so forth. Related to something which we call smart fiscal consolidation, innovation is the way out of the crisis. What we mean by smart fiscal consolidation means that we should not cut in research and innovation funding. And Finland was used as a prime example of this policy when we were recovering from the deep financial crisis in the beginning of the 90s. So we can only hope that the same line will continue in this country. Of course, if we want to promote innovation, this requires a concerted effort in a series of policy fields. And everything starts in education, where universities play a pivotal role. Then we come to fundamental and applied research. We have to ensure that there is enough knowledge exchange and transfer. IPRs are properly handled. We use the public procurement in a much better way to boost innovation than we are doing at the moment. This is something which Europe is really bad in using. 17% of the national GDP is from public procurement, and if we use that in a different and more intelligent way than at the moment, we can really boost innovation. Then venture capital is a known bottleneck. We also have to see that there are other fiscal instruments which support innovation activities. And then regional policy is becoming more and more important in research and innovation. And this is one of the main efforts we are also doing in my DG, Research and Innovation. Innovation Union was indeed launched in 2010. And there was a Commission communication on that containing 34 so-called commitments or measures. We are proceeding with practically all of them, but this is just the beginning, so we are not yet there. We are asking the member states and the regions, the universities, other research institutions, all other stakeholders, companies, to do their own share to implement the Innovation Union. This is not only for the Commission, we have to do this in partnership. Actually, the Commission is maybe not even the major player. If nothing happens in the member states, we can forget about Innovation Union. We have to make sure that our research and innovation systems are effective and efficient. The Finnish innovation system is known to be quite good, but that doesn't mean that you should be stopping where you are now. You have to keep running and faster, because all our good recipes have been copied already by other countries, so new recipes are needed. Universities, of course, are the key partners in realizing the objectives of Europe 2020 strategy. You know that very well. If we want to tackle our biggest societal challenges and promote the birth and success of our innovative high-tech companies, we need an excellent science base, as I already said, and which Tuula also emphasized. We need to train creative graduates with a critical and innovative mindsets. So the time for lecturing only is over. And I'm happy to see that many Finnish universities, including Aalto especially, has taken that path that makes me think that I wish I were a student now. It would be so much more fun. So one very important element of the Innovation Union is the European Research Area. This concept was actually launched already before the Innovation Union concept was launched. It was launched in 2000, but it has not really started to fly properly yet. But as part of the Innovation Union, I think that we can boost the realization of ERA as well. And it is quite clear that Europe needs more cooperation, more pan-European thinking, so that the brightest minds can work together in tackling the challenges we are having ahead of us. And cooperation also means that we can avoid unnecessary duplication of investments in research, and especially in research infrastructures, which are getting more and more expensive all the time. But it's not enough to cooperate. Competition is an element of quality. That has to be remembered. We have to find a balance between the 3 C's, which is cooperation, competition, and coordination. If one is dominating too much, it's not good. We need a balance. With better competition, we can ensure that the funding always goes to the best researchers, and that the most talented people get the jobs where they can contribute most. And I think that the European Research Council, ERC, is a prime example of this kind of a principle in basic research. So these are the reasons why we have relaunched, so to say, the European Research Area. The Commission published a communication on this in July. It was endorsed by the Council in December, and now it's the time to take the measures. The Council conclusions, the European Council conclusions already twice earlier said that the European Research Area has to be completed by 2014. Well, it's never complete, but that means that there has to be a clear progress towards the realization of ERA. In parallel with this communication, our Commissioner, Mrs. Moira Kegan-Ginn, who is the Commissioner for Research and Innovation, signed 4 memoranda of understanding and 1 unilateral statement with the major research stakeholder organizations in Europe, namely the European University Association, EUA, League of European Research Universities, LERU, European Association for Research and Technology Organizations, EARTO, and Nordforsk, which I think you all know. And in this way, the stakeholder organizations committed themselves to promote ERA and take certain measures to really make this concrete. So these measures concern the 5 ERA priorities, which are the following. I already mentioned the need for more effective national research and innovation systems, and the need for more competition. I think that in Finland the need of competition is quite clear. About half of our funding here in Finland goes to on a competitive basis, but this is not self-evident for many European countries, so there is really much to do. The second issue is to optimize transnational cooperation and competition. And this means also that we have to use the key research infrastructures much more together on a pan-European basis. And you know the ESRI roadmap, I'm sure that all of you are somehow involved in this work. The third one is an open labour market for researchers. And I will tell you more about this, but the basic principles are that grants and pensions should be portable to make it easy for the researchers to move. And the recruitment procedures should be open, transparent and merit-based. This may sound self-evident, but we are far from this in many European countries, unfortunately. Then the fourth one is gender equality, and our Commissioner is very engaged into this issue, and she's committed to doing her share in mainstreaming research, mainstreaming gender aspects in research content and in innovation activities. So I hope that the member states will do their share. And we are by the way, producing a recommendation on gender equality by the end of this year or beginning of next year. And this recommendation will be made to the member states, that is to say, to the ministries, and them then to implement them, hopefully. And the fourth one, which is the last one, but not the least one, is to guarantee optimal circulation of knowledge. This means access to and transfer to scientific knowledge, in practice open access to scientific publications and data. And of course the digital European research area is a very important means to this end. So I think that I can say that the Finnish universities are important players in implementing the European research area, but you can certainly become better in that. And in fact, you are already via the EUA and LERU committed to do so. I hope that these organizations have already spread the message and you are diligently working towards these measures. This is not only to do things because somebody else says that you should do them. They are for your own best. I think that if you do these good ERA principles, you raise your profiles, you become more attractive and more competitive employers of highly talented people. And I see many measures towards this direction in the Finnish universities, which is really, really nice. So what should then be done in practice to reach these goals of the ERA communication? First of all, I wish that you could publish all your vacancies on the Euraccess jobs portal. Maybe you don't know yet what Euraccess is. If you don't know, you will get a link later on and see, but it is a job portal on the Commission website where you can advertise all the vacancies you have, and in this way attract researchers from all over the world. And this portal is using common profiles for researchers so that the stage of the researchers is easier to compare on an international scale. And these profiles have been created together with the member states and stakeholders, including the universities, so they are commonly agreed by everybody. Finland is quite often a benchmark in Europe, but I must say that not in this case. The number of Finnish research organizations actively registered in the Euraccess jobs portal is 119, which is about 2% of the total. In 2012, there were only 182 jobs vacancies from Finland in the portal, and the European total is more than 36,000, so that's 0.5% of all. So I'm sure there are more interesting jobs in Finland for researchers than this figure. And Finland is almost missing from the Euraccess service activities, and these service activities are the kind of activities which help researchers to be mobile, to come into the country and leave the country. So it certainly is worthwhile to be involved in that. So I count on you that you can do a better job in this respect in the future. Second concerns the human resources strategies. I think that Finnish universities are doing quite well there, but there is still things to do. The Commission is running currently an exercise to help the universities in Europe to do a human resources strategy for the organizations which follow the ERA principles. And in this coaching process, we have at the moment 12 Finnish universities involved. So this is quite a good number. The majority of the Finnish universities are there. Out of these 200 which are in the process so far, 129 have received from the Commission Human Resources Excellence in Research logo. This may sound probably naive, but it's not, because the researchers from all over the world can see that the universities which have this logo really follow these good principles of open recruitment, good human resources management, and so forth and so forth. And I'm really happy to tell that Aalto University is one of these 129 universities with a logo. So congratulations to Aalto University. And hopefully soon the other 11 will follow, and the other 5 which are not yet involved will be involved. And the third one is about doctoral schools. And this is maybe my favorite topic, because I think that here lies the basis for the research and innovation system. Without excellent doctoral training, we don't actually have a future, I would like to say. As you know, a growing number of doctoral graduates is employed outside the academia, and this is why we must prepare them for careers as innovators, experts, and also managers in both public and private sector. When we get managers who have doctoral degree, they will better understand what all this is about and enhance research and innovation also in their own activities, and are able to use it in their businesses and work. In my view, the doctoral schools can also play a pivotal role in enhancing knowledge exchange and transfer if the interaction with the civil society and private sector is organized in a systematic manner and not based on contacts between individuals only. And I think that also here I see good developments in the Finnish universities, in many of them. With experts from the member states, companies and stakeholder organizations, we have identified 7 principles for innovative doctoral training. And the Finnish experts have contributed actively to this process. Thank you very much for this help. The principles emphasize first and foremost fostering excellence and a critical mindset. Therefore, also training for transferable skills and exposure to industry are needed. Of course, also to other relevant sectors in the society, but experience shows that maybe industry is the employer where we need more boosting to get the doctors there. These principles have been endorsed by the politicians, by your decision makers, in the Council conclusions concerning the modernization of higher education that happened already in November 2011. And also the Bologna Ministers' Conference in April endorsed these principles. So in principle, the table is set, and now the action should be taking place. To test these principles, the Commission organized as part of the People Programme, namely the Marie Curie Actions, 2 calls of European industrial doctorates and innovative doctoral programs. And these were kick-started with some extra millions from the European Parliament. And since we have 1 member of Parliament here, I would very much like to thank the Parliament for that. This is really exemplary, and I think that was money well spent. I just heard one day here in Finland that there were 100 applications to one of these calls, the first calls, and only 1 could be selected. So there was not enough money. But I hope that the Horizon 2020 will correct this gap. So we are also studying the wider uptake of these principles in the member states and universities. We are starting a study on this year. We have experts which will contact the universities across Europe and report on possible difficulties and success stories in applying these kinds of principles. And I'm sure that the positive Finnish examples will be quoted in this study. So if you are contacted by somebody from our expert group, so please be helpful and reply to the best of your ability. And the fourth is the importance of accessibility to and portability of national grants. The funding organizations in Science Europe, which is the organizations for research funders in Europe, Academy of Finland is the member in Finland, are invited to further develop these ideas. And actually, originally, these ideas were their own ideas to start with. I hope that the Finnish organizations are actively promoting this, and I know that the Academy of Finland actually signed this kind of a decision in principle already for some years ago, but I don't know how it is working in practice. And of course, taking grants over borders doesn't mean that you just, get a funding and you take your grant and say goodbye to your funder and to your university. This has to be, of course, linked to your project and to enhance the cooperation. So this is not an uncontrolled flow of money out from the country. It's a win-win situation. And the fifth was to improve knowledge transfer. We are looking for new ways of ensuring that there will be better interaction between the supply and demand side for research. In Europe, in general, this is not very well taken care of. But I can see that the Finnish universities have waken up for this. You have exemplary knowledge transfer offices, but I think that more is needed at these kind of offices. I think that we need a change in culture, how we do research. And there are already some very good new practices in Finland. Just to mention the Aalto Venture Garage, which I have heard has changed the name or is changing the name, but anyways, this is a good name also. And then in Tampere there is a Demola concept, and in the Commission we have heard about this and we are quite impressed by them, and I can see that there is a great potential there for Finland and for Europe as well. So the question is, how can we strengthen the role of knowledge transfer in such a way that we can get much more out from the research, the good research we do in Europe? Again, to help us in the Commission to further explore the issue, we have set up a high-level expert group to develop a comprehensive policy on open innovation and knowledge transfer. From Finland, we have one member in this group, and I hope that I'm not breaking any laws by saying that this is Professor Alfrén. This is maybe useful for you to know. And this group will report in November, and there will be a public consultation on this topic in summer as well. So please keep your eyes peeled. And then the last issue I would like to mention is also the last issue in the career of a researcher, namely the pensions. The Commission is providing guidance for universities and other employers who wish to set up a European supplementary pension fund for researchers. Such a fund is created because it could boost the mobility, labor mobility of researchers by making it easier for researchers to take their pensions when they are moving from one country to another. Now, I'm sure that many of you know that this is a nightmare. A group of volunteers from different countries will meet several times this year with the Commission and our experts who we have hired for this purpose, and they will define the rules of the fund, which we intend to launch by the end of 2013. This is, of course, on a voluntary basis, and we don't have no intention to make this compulsory, but I think that this might be helpful. Unfortunately, we don't have any Finnish participant at the moment. There was one which unfortunately dropped out. But please at least follow the process. It might be useful, and everybody can join this fund later on, so you aren't losing missing the train, but of course it would be nice to be there to define what the rules are. In the Commission we have a Finnish colleague from Åland, Ahvenanmaa, Andreas Dahlén, who is actually dealing with this issue. So you have somebody whom you can easily contact also if you are interested. Then, of course, Horizon 2020 is an important issue for you. And this seminar takes place at a very crucial moment for the future of EU research and innovation funding. And you heard that the European Council decided to cut the EU budget from the present level and from the level which the Commission proposed. But fortunately, research and innovation was supported by the ministers, so it won't, as far as we can see, it won't be cut from the present level, but it seems that it won't be getting the level the Commission proposed. The Commission proposed 80 billion euros for the 7-year program, and I think that this proposal from the European Council means that this is not going to be realized unless the European Parliament says it's a heavy word. I have read in the newspapers, I was last week here in Finland, so I have not been in Brussels, but I read that the European Parliament is not very happy that this is not promoting employment and growth in such a way as it should have. So maybe there will be still a change upwards, but anyways, the good message is that the Prime Ministers thought that research and innovation shouldn't be cut in the same ratio as everything else was cut, but it will have to have an increase in any case. But more would be badly needed. And this is exactly during the time of austerity, and this is what Finland did in the beginning of the 90s, and what followed was a very good success story. So Horizon 2020 is a funding tool. It's relying on the policy of Europe 2020, and it is a tool to implement the Innovation Union and the European Research Area. I think that most of you know very well what Horizon 2020 is. I just very shortly remind you what are the main priorities. The first priority is excellence in science, which provides the bedrock for the future growth and well-being. And as I said, this is for the universities to make sure that excellence is there to be funded. This pillar is supported on a bottom-up basis, and it is the universities which will be setting the research agenda for this pillar. And there will be a significant increase for frontier research by the ERC. I think that this for sure will be so, no matter what happens to the budget, I hope. But also this pillar contains the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, which is to support the researcher mobility. It also contains research infrastructures and future and emerging technologies. All very important programs for you. The second priority is industrial leadership. And this is to make Europe a more attractive place for business to invest in research and innovation in Europe. We expect that the universities will find additional opportunities to carry out partnerships with the private sector, and especially with the SMEs. The third priority is the societal challenges, and this means in practice that you should remember that these are the challenges. They shouldn't be broken down in themes and return back to the old. We very much in the Commission we emphasize that they have to be sub-challenges. Of course, these are big challenges and they have to be divided in sub-areas, but they have to be kept as challenges. And this means that interdisciplinary research is needed. You cannot solve any grand challenge without interdisciplinary research, including social sciences and humanities. And of course, these challenges are very closely linked to Union's Europe 2020 policy priorities, and this is very much reflected in the Horizon texts and in the specific programs, and it will be reflected also in the strategic programs, which we will be writing for 3-year periods from now on, and then annual work programs, of course. We have gotten very many positive reactions to Horizon 2020 proposal also from Tuula. Thank you very much for that support. And the European Council, the European Parliament, the Member States and the stakeholders, I think that this is maybe the most successful framework program proposal ever, I would like to say. And now, what happens now? The Council and the Commission and the Parliament, we are now having the so-called trialogue. So these are the last open questions to negotiate and to agree on before we go for the co-decision process. I hope that these trialogues can reach an agreement by August. And once again, I would like to emphasize that it's very much up to the European universities to putting research and innovation at the heart of our economic recovery and better future. It's not enough that we recover from this present crisis. We have to make sure that this crisis don't come again. I already touched upon the importance of interdisciplinarity, and that of course means mainstreaming. So next to the big three priorities of excellent science, industrial leadership and societal challenges, I would like to point at three issues which have to be mainstreamed under Horizon 2020. And this may be the most challenging part of it, both for the researchers, science policymakers and also for the Commission, including my staff, I can tell you, because culture and thinking is not easy to change. Namely, we have to mainstream social sciences and humanities. We have to mainstream innovation activities in all challenges, in all activities. And we also have to mainstream international cooperation, because as Tuula also said, we have to be global. Our companies are already global. And if research and innovation doesn't follow, we can forget about our success globally. We have had a lot of actually criticism from the community of social sciences and humanities they say that we are forgetting their field. No, we are not. We have a specific part in Horizon 2020 for these sciences. They still can work with themselves only, but addressing challenges which are in this field. But we request that this will be part of all the other challenges as well. So the role and importance and significance of social sciences and humanities is actually increasing. But this needs a lot of cooperation and a lot of understanding from different scientific communities so that they would understand each other better. I have tried myself as a researcher, and I remember it was very difficult to discuss because people didn't understand each other's language even. But that has to be done. And needless to say that researcher training has a role to play here. And innovation will be promoted across Horizon 2020 indeed. We have a very strong emphasis on SMEs, but that doesn't mean that big industry would be less important. We will have to fill the different gaps which we have in the innovation cycle. We have to find support for early stage, high risk research and innovation by the different companies, and in this way stimulate breakthrough innovations. We are developing different financial instruments to do that. We have the risk-sharing finance facility, but there will be more. And this is something where I think that some extra events might be needed so that universities would better understand how to do that. And for this, and of course for any other issue, the Commission is happy to send experts to discuss this with you. And the third is indeed the international cooperation. And by international cooperation, we mean the cooperation beyond the EU. Let's remember that EU is our home market. It's our internal cooperation. International cooperation is cooperation with the third countries. Activities at the international level are indeed important to enhance the competitiveness of European industry. In doing so, we can promote the take-up and trade of novel technologies, for instance, through the development of worldwide standards and interoperability guidelines, and also by promoting the acceptance and deployment of European solutions outside Europe. It's clear that if you do the research and development with your potential partners or in that market where you should be then operating and selling your products and services, they are much more relevant if you have done them together with them. And there is a good reason why industry is global. So It's actually surprising that universities are not that, because universities originally were the most global endeavors in the world. The focus on international cooperation in Horizon 2020 will be with 3 major country groupings. The first one is industrialized and emerging economies. US and so forth, emerging economies, China, India, Brazil and so forth. Then the second group is enlargement and neighborhood countries. And the third one is developing countries. But also we are emphasizing the need to go for regional cooperation and not only bilateral, because sometimes it makes much more sense to, for instance, to do research on climate change on a regional level than bilaterally with many different countries. But there also always has to be a need for this cooperation. So international cooperation is a means to an end. That has to be always remembered. Why are we doing this? Where do we need international cooperation? Which are the most relevant partners? Which are the most excellent partners? And so forth. So you have to make this analysis. And it is surprising how little we actually know about our partner countries. So the Commission is working to make a better knowledge base on what the countries are doing and which ones would be the most relevant and important partners for Europe. And I hope that when we have this work done, we will be also benefiting from that. I already mentioned the importance of open access, and Horizon 2020 will make open access to applications a rule. Both gold and green open access will be promoted. And we will make a pilot on open access to data. And as researchers, you know that this is the difficult part of it. But I do hope that the Finnish research institutions would lead by example in this open access business. You have all the prerequisites of doing so. Then I already mentioned the importance of regions. Of course, in Europe we have regions which are very, very rich and regions which are not so rich. And our emphasis is now maybe more on closing the research and innovation divide in Europe, because we have to be one Europe flourishing and not Europe with 2 different speeds. So we are talking about unlocking excellence, and we have different ways of doing that, and DG Research and Innovation has cooperating very much with DG Regio to make sure that the capacity building is their duty, and fostering excellence in research and innovation is the duty of DG Research and Innovation. And the cooperation is going nicely, but the devil is in the details. So how to combine then in practice the funding from the cohesion funds and from Horizon 2020. Now the articles have been written in such a way that it is possible. The present programming period doesn't allow combining these different funding strands into the same project, but in the future it will be possible if you make sure that you don't fund the same funding item from 2 different sources. In addition to cooperating with DG Research, with DG Regio, for instance in research infrastructures, which is one of the most important cooperation issues with them, we have some funding tools in Horizon 2020, and I just shortly mentioned the twinning of research institutions, the teaming of research institutions, and a third one is a new one, Eracheers. And if there is time, I can tell you more about these ones. So, as Tuula also said, the universities should become, and some of them, many of them in Finland especially, already are innovation centers for the region. And this is what Europe as a whole should see as the goal. And of course not only for the region but beyond also. And this means that the universities will constantly have to train and retrain the workforce in an open dialogue with the relevant business sectors. And I can see that, for instance, the double nominations and mobility between academia and industry, and vice versa, by the way, will become a norm in the universities. And the Commission's role is to facilitate and support in different ways the creation of the Innovation Union and ERA. But this is up to you to happen in practice. Universities, research institutions, industry, stakeholders, public sector. And at the end I would like to cite one Chinese philosopher, Lao Tse, from the 5th and 6th century BC. Only those who know their destination will know their way. And I think that this is important to know. We have to have the destination. We have to know where we are going. And then we have to make our strategies based on that. And then based on that we know what we have to do. So I think that we have a pretty good idea where we should go. We should go towards Horizon 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anneli. Excellent. So especially that you brought us so much of the, we would say, practical work which is not normally seen at all. And that as well, so how you are challenging the university communities to see that there's a lot of positive developments, a lot of good ways to operate. And you pointed out nicely the mindset change or need for that. So that we need to do that at the universities, but good that you mentioned as well that you need that inside the commission staff in your own DG as well. So now we have a chance to make a few questions to Anneli. After that we are having the first panel, so that we have here microphones. So Kit and Mintu will come to give the microphones to you, and then maybe Anneli you go back there. But I would like, while they bring the microphone, please raise your hand when you have a question. But I would like to start. So could you please a bit more clarify what you said close to the end about this collaboration with DG Regio? So capacity building, the cohesion funding there, and your own funding in a way. So what should we at the universities know about that? Because I've read a lot about the common strategic framework, multi-financing. So it's not anymore that they are totally separate, but they need to be kind of merged more to do together, but as well have some strategic funding from the regions and cities as well.
This is a very good question, because actually you are in a hurry. Because research and innovation is one of the 4 issues which have been mentioned in the cohesion funding package. It's actually the first one there. But only those research and innovation projects and measures which are mentioned in the smart specialization strategies of the region can be funded from there. So when the regions are doing the strategies, they will have to ensure that they include these kind of issues. So for instance, if there is a research infrastructure in somewhere in, I'm inventing now simply, in Bulgaria, and they of course have other European countries involved. So they will have to ensure in Bulgaria that that is mentioned in their smart specialization strategy, so that they can get their funding from there. And a new feature is also that part of the cohesion funding can be used also across the borders. So that means that it's not only funding which has to be used in the very country which is getting it. But there is a great educational task everywhere. I start from the Commission. We have started that. It's difficult, but it's going. But it's even more difficult in the countries, because in many countries the authorities which are responsible for cohesion funding are not very knowledgeable about research and innovation, and I'm sure that there are many countries where they are in different ministries which don't even talk to each other. So I think that the researchers and innovators who know that there would be a good case to be made, probably they will have to be proactive and contact all the relevant authorities in the countries, and also contact the Commission officials, so that we can in a team help you in doing that. In my DG Directorate C, Clara de la Torres Directorate is the one, and head of unit there is Dimitri Korpakis, who is very, very helpful. And then in DG Regio, they also have contact persons whose name I unfortunately cannot remember now, and they have country desks. So it depends also. So I think that you have to be very much hands-on, but hurry up.
Okay, thank you. This hurrying up, so that's a good message as well. So the others, I'll continue another question then, because you mentioned smart specialization. So, and that's not exactly the same what was in the discussion 20 years ago.
No.
So again, a few hints for us. So what to do, how we should be understanding or going deeper on understanding what is the role of universities in this smart specialization?
Well, I think that it means that the goal is to make the regions more knowledge intensive, to promote research and innovation and knowledge transfer, and to make them knowledge economies. That's the goal. So whatever helps that is smart. And what specialization means is that not every region should become a center of excellence in nanotechnology, for instance, because there seems to be fashions that maybe the local politicians have heard something and then they say, oh, we want to be the leader in this. No, I think that one should look what are the strengths of that region, where are the universities good in that region, and then start to promote and put resources on that. I think that it means also choices, also for Finland, by the way. And yeah, I think that it starts from that one has to analyze where would we be good compared to others. And for some regions, it may be only one issue, but then concentrate on that. Some issues, some regions might have more. And of course, we have some regions which don't have any strength at all. So then one might start to think if they can develop something together with somebody, because everybody has talented people. I can imagine that even a university in a mediocre class probably can be helped to become better. And the Eracheers concept is quite an interesting concept, but it probably would take a little bit too much time if I start to explain it here.
So, but we here as well, so we can get those Eracheers, or is it only for the, let's say, the poorest, most remote?
Well, yes and no. So what we hope is that, well, first of all, of course, I have now explained a little bit because you know more than the others. So the Eracheers is a new funding program in Horizon 2020, which has two stages. First of all, the Commission will launch a call where the so-called less performing regions, the universities there are invited to make a proposal what they would do, what kind of a research and innovation environment, what activities they would do if they got an Eracheer funding from the European Commission. So they first have to make the business plan. And these business plans will be evaluated by outside experts in a normal way, facilitated by the Commission. And then we can hopefully find 5 which are excellent enough, which can be then funded by us. We have already a pilot this year. It's actually running. And then these 5, I'm now talking about this pilot because we have money for 5 at the moment in FP7. These 5 can then nominate a chair, an excellent chair, who is committed to, in a way, comply to the ERA principles of open recruitment, all these innovative doctoral training principles, to shape up that promising department. Typically, it could be maybe an old-fashioned Polish university with many bright brains, but not so much modern principles, which, for instance, Aalto University is applying here. So I would say that you have a good chance to apply for an Eracheer if you have such counterparts in those regions which are more likely to get. Because there are so much more poor regions than any poor region in Finland, so I'm not sure how Finland would be successful in that, to be honest.
Fine, thank you. Please say your name as well.
My name is Timon. I'm from VTT. You, Anneli, already mentioned that there might be a cut to the Horizon 2020 budget. could you already tell us what are the Commission plans to manage this cut? Is it equally cut everywhere in different parts of the program, or is there any other principles applied? And then is Commission going to issue a new proposal taking into account this potential cut?
Thank you, Timo. Well, first of all, I count on the European Parliament and everybody to push that there won't be a cut. At the moment, it looks like there would be a cut. But if there will be a cut, it depends on the size of the cut, of course. If the cut is very big, then I think that one has to make choices what to take out, because if you take evenly everywhere, you are ending up in a situation where all are suboptimal. So then we have to make choices. But if the cut is not too deep, then probably it will be possible to do it evenly from everywhere. But we refuse to think of it more closely yet.
Okay, and maybe we'll have more of that in the panel. So I call now Sirpa Pietikäinen, Yrjö Neuvo, Jos Laiten come to join here on the podium, and Anneli will join us. So we'll keep on discussing this. So.